I guess then the first question is, what'd you do today? How about that?
Yeah, well, we can start right there, huh? Yeah. Well, another busy day today. I think 7 radio shows today. And then, got into the office today, started looking at roster, started looking at the recruiting board, trying to figure out, what our needs are and, what direction we need to go into. Also had discussions with about staffing. The biggest thing we have to do right now is obviously recruiting and then filling out a staff. And so, the filling out a staff part can happen over the next probably couple of weeks. And then recruiting-wise, we really have a couple of weeks before the first signing period. But then, obviously there's a second signing period, so we don't have to fill out the class in this first signing period, but we will sign some players in this one. I think, we get some staff in here, hopefully maybe middle of next week, middle to end of next week, and let them hit the ground running.
Coach LJ Nesbitt, CrunchZone.com. Two-part question. First part, did you get any sleep last night? And the second part, any thoughts on who you're going with for your defensive coordinator? I know you probably can't say a whole lot, but just anything. Are you leaning in a particular way?
Well, the first part of that question, I did get a little bit of sleep last night. Not as much as I'd like, but I did get a little bit, so it's good to lay down. And I think the main thing with us defensively is we want to continue what we've been doing defensively the last 6 years. It's been very effective as you look at the stats, and over particularly the last 4 seasons, a top 25 defense in the country every year. One that will create turnovers. I think we've led, or we're like maybe 1, 2, or 3 in interceptions in the last 4 seasons combined. And obviously we want to continue to do that. We're trying to win the turnover battle. I think for us, the last 3 years we've been 1 or 2 or 3 in the turnover margin, and I think that gives you a great chance to win. So defensively, probably doing the very same thing, and then we'll fill out that staff. But hopefully, middle of next week we'll know.
Coach, how much game? This is not working.
Yeah, it's working.
Sorry. How much game video will you look at to determine what you've got with this current Louisville group?
Well, what I'll probably do is just look at some cut-ups, meaning we'll take some certain clips of guys and kind of see that. I don't need to look at game video per se, the game from front to back. I mean, I really to find out personnel, we can just look at individual tapes of those guys, good, bad plays, kind of see their skill sets, to kind of get a gauge on where we might want to put guys. Like defensively, they were 4 down defense. If we're going to the odd front, so we got to find guys that can be edge pass rushers. So guys that had their hand down maybe have their hand up now. That's just an example. Where guys maybe playing safety may come down and play a nickel. I mean, those kind of things right there. And then I think for us, we want to utilize a tight end. I think that's going to be a big need in recruiting, to go out and find some tight ends after looking at the board. And I think quarterback, tight end, both of those positions are a need. I think offensive line will be another need for us, and then linebackers. Those 4 positions, we want to continue to find players, and not just players. We're trying to find the right players, and that's going to be our task for our staff once they get here.
Scott, when it comes to looking at a staff and filling that out, do you envision yourself keeping anybody on from the previous staff?
Yeah, I do. We very successful there in the last 4 years, winning 40 football games, and if you can coach football, you can coach football. I'm a firm believer in that. There's probably some of your best coaches in the country right now at all levels that are coaching high school ball, and so we'll get some of those guys that are on our staff back at App, and then we'll also go outside and get some guys that are doing some amazing things right now across the country. And, and again, hopefully in the next, week and a half, we'll have most of the staff filled out, and maybe a couple spots that will not be, but most of them will be in the next 2 weeks.
I'm sorry. I was actually asking about the staff here at Louisville. That was
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about, okay. Well, right now the staff here at Louisville, we're looking at probably bringing most of the guys in from the outside. I've talked to a few guys today that we're talking to see, you know, if there's a need, if there's a spot, then we may keep some guys, particularly in you know, off the field roles right now that are around the building. I think it's good, you know, to have a few guys that understand what it was before and where we're going with it, you know, as we move forward. Just from the standpoint, they know personalities, they know abilities, and those kind of things, and I can kind of bounce ideas off of those guys that were here. But predominantly, we're going to be going from the outside.
Scott, a little bit two-part question about that with Steph. How important is strength staff and knowing you and someone that you're very familiar with there? And then the second part, do you envision wanting to keep someone or have someone that knows connections more locally than what you all have on your staff?
Well, I mean, the strength staff's very important. They're probably one of the more important hires I think you can make in a football team, because they're with the players more than anybody. They're seeing them every day when they come in the weight room, whether it be either they're training or they're coming in there to heal their bodies, rolling out, stretching, all that. So that's going to be very important of what we surround the guys with in the weight room. You know, we want to have guys that are going to fit our culture of what we're trying to do here. Guys that'll hold them accountable. You know, so obviously it's got to be some guys in there that we trust and we understand what we want.
Was there any, as you were looking at the roster, you say you want quarterbacks, tight ends, that sort of thing. Is there any part of the roster that you looked at and liked, like this position group or that one, like, hey, I think I can work with what I got here?
Yeah, you know, I think we got some good skilled players. I think, you know, you look at wide receiver. There's some guys out there that can make some things happen at wide receiver. I think we have a couple good running backs that can certainly make some things happen. And then I think, you know, in the secondary there are some good players. And you know, and I haven't really jumped into the full roster, watching film and all that as much as I would like and will do as we move forward. But there's certainly some guys on here that will make plays for us. And we also, again, we have to find what's the best position for them. Where can they really help us? Where can we really excel their abilities and their talents in order to make plays? And you know, so we may end up looking at some guys at different positions. And so we'll see that more so probably when we get them, you know, working them out and we're able to see them, you know, face to face.
Yesterday you mentioned the transition, just coming from somewhere where you've been for 20 years to a new place. What are some of the things you like to do back in Boone outside of football to get yourself involved in the community, and how do you see that translating here?
Well, you know, where I'm coming from is a pretty small community. We had maybe 30,000 total people there, and, you know, so just hanging out, and you just go. There's not a whole lot to do in Boone, actually. Particularly as I look around and right around this town, there's a lot to do here. You know, really, the big thing is outdoors. You know, you go hiking and looking at nature and that kind of thing. And you know, we had some golf courses. You play some golf, but there's really, and then you know, hanging out at church and the people that are with our friends are there. Really, it's more just hanging out, eating dinner, and just talking, I guess. I mean, there's really not a whole lot else to do there. You know, so what this city has to offer is incredible. The amount of things that you can go out and do and see, and the people that come here. We're looking forward to doing that and really, you know, immersing ourselves in this city and experiencing all that Louisville has to offer.
Is the work you've done today, looking at the roster and the recruiting and making calls, are there guys from the old Louisville staff helping you, or are you kind of tackling that on your own? No, yeah, just, well, you know, there's Pete that's been helping in recruiting. Yeah, he's helped me today. You know, just kind of going through the board and looking at what they've been recruiting wise and looking at their current roster and just kind of going over that. And you know, so really, I'm looking forward to getting some more help. The guys, some of the staff that we're going to get in here next week, and then we'll start watching all those films of the players here, and really trying to get a good feel for what we have now on this team.
Scott, a lot of what comes in recruiting comes to relationships. Yep. Have you heard from any of the guys that maybe have committed to you while you were at App State, and is that a chance you might bring some of those guys here?
I have heard from some of those guys. You know, I'm not sure. I don't know that right now we'd bring any of those guys that are committed there. I think for us, we want to compete in the ACC and win championships. And so, you know, we're going to try to get the best talent we can get throughout this footprint of what we're recruiting. There's a lot of guys out there that have reached out that are interested now in Louisville, that are maybe committed to other schools. You know, that we're going to have to play or in this conference. And so, we're just trying to find the best fit. I mean, I'm trying to find a well-rounded student athlete, not just somebody that can run fast or hit. We want someone that's going to do well in academics, that's going to be strong character in that locker room when you do face adversity. So we got to do your research. You got to really get it, dive deep into what makes them tick. I think so much of it is heart right here, and that's just, finding about their relationship through their coaches and all that and seeing what they're saying about these players.
Vince was talking last week about how this is going to be a small class anyway. I think there's like 11 or 12 scholarships available. With that in mind, are you open to the possibility of going to JUCO players or maybe even graduate transfers to fill out this class and then try to build for 2020 a four-year class?
Yeah, we'll be open-minded about that. I think if it's the best player that can come in right now, and if it's a grad transfer to help you the immediate need, then we'll certainly look at that. I think as well as a junior college player that can come in, you're looking at a couple of years, but hopefully we'll be getting a routine where we can go to high school ranks and sign those high school players, and we can retain and develop those guys. And but certainly open to the fact that we could go out and potentially get a grad transfer and a junior college player at potential certain positions.
Scott, you have 7 commitments from the previous staff. Have you talked to those guys, or where does it stand with those 7 guys?
No, I have not yet. We're just now diving into that film, watching them, seeing if they're going to fit our needs, what we want. And we'll do some more of that tomorrow. We'll start talking to those guys tomorrow, and really trying to get the rest of the class. All right, who's some other guys that we won't need to look at, and we'll get on those guys as well. Probably go see a few as well.
So with it just being you this weekend, do you anticipate having a recruiting weekend?
I would anticipate not having one this weekend. I would anticipate having it next weekend and bringing guys in for next weekend. Rather than bring just a small group this weekend, let's bring a little bit bigger group next weekend. Plus, hopefully we'll have some staff back then as well, and really, because you want these guys want to see who's kind of coaching them. So we want those guys to kind of be here, not just the head coach, but the guys that are going to be coaching them. And so I think we'll push those guys that we had this weekend back to next weekend. Well, that's certainly a possibility at that position. I think either there, or potential junior college player there, and probably a high school player too. So that's a pretty big need for us. I think if you look at any level of football, rec league, high school, college, or pro, you have to have a trigger man, and really you'd like to have 4 or 5 on your roster that can do it, because we all know guys get dinged up, they get hurt. You better have another one that can do it when he comes in the game. All right, thank you, guys.